Mark, first of all, congratulations. That is just epic. Amazing footage that we've just witnessed there. Have you thought about turning it into a feature film? It's just
I think
make a
we're
great
going to do
movie.
2 more shorts and then the feature.
We know, obviously, it says June 26. Is the film still being made? Is it still partly in construction?
You know, I was driving yesterday from my house down Santa Monica Boulevard to the airport, and I was driving myself, and I looked out the window, and I saw a bumblebee on a trailer hitch. Michael was out doing another shot. He's working as we speak around the clock, but it will definitely be ready. And this just gives you a glimpse of what it's going to look like. It's really incredible.
You know what? When I saw it, Mark, I've noticed that it kind of feels a little edgier than past films, but there's a nice kind of balance of humour in this movie as well. Was that deliberate?
Absolutely. You know, he really wanted to kind of push it. I always want to try to play everything as realistic as possible. And being a dad, having 2 daughters of my own, and knowing that some goofball is going to show up in a race car talking about his boyfriend is going to be a big problem. So there was a lot of room for humor, but it's much edgier than the first 3.
You come across as a fairly serious kind of guy, but you've got a real knack for doing humour, for doing comedy in films. How do you reckon you do that? How does that come about for you? Because 1 minute it looks like you're going to smack the taste from somebody's mouth, and then the next minute you're laughing and you go, I don't know whether or not to like him. But I do, though, because I don't want him to smack the taste from my mouth. But
you know, I just play everything as real as possible. Like even when I was doing Ted, it was like, okay, this guy, you know, this teddy bear is real and he's my best friend, and you know, if you believe it, I think you can convince an audience, and I think the humor comes out of the craziness of the situation. Like that situation with the kid with the car. Mm-hmm. I was like, dude, I really want to drink one of those Bud Lights. And it was a hot day. We were shooting in Chicago, and I was like, Michael, maybe I'll just like play around where I'll open the beer off of his car, and I'll take a chug. And of course, like 20 takes later, I'm like, and it's real beer. Of course, I'm like, dude, I need another take. I say, I gotta try. I think I can get something a little bit funnier. But you just try to make it as realistic as possible, and the humor just comes from, I think, my commitment to being so serious in the moment.
Yeah. Okay, that answers it. The fact that, you know, you're playing against characters that are not real. You've done that before, obviously with Ted, but Ted's, you know, that big, and you've got these monolithic creatures that are the size of a building. How does that change? Because most actors nowadays work with, you know, a green screen, but not on that kind of scale.
Yeah, you know, Ted was good practice for this, but you just have to trust in Michael. You know, he's going to bring it together. He'll bring it all to life. There were these previses where you could actually see an animated version of the sequence, and you just kind of trust it. You know, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do this 10 years ago because you feel completely ridiculous. You know, standing there, there's nothing there. There's people sitting around eating like popcorn and drinking coffee, picking their nose, and you're kind of out there going, you know, playing these ridiculous moments, but you know, you just trusted Michael and trusted he's going to make it look cool, and it all kind of comes together.
You've worked with Michael Bay before, and but it's not on this kind of scale. So tell us about how that, you know, that experience and
The
that
Rock
relationship.
is almost as big as Optimus Prime. You know, not quite as cool, but yeah, he's almost as big as Optimus Prime.
And what was that experience like working with Michael?
He's great. You know, he's the kind of director that I aspire to be like. You know, I hope to direct films one day, and it was what a great opportunity for me, being on set with him every day, watching him do his thing. But he's my kind of guy. He's got to go out there and get it done. He's literally the one driving the whole machine by himself. He's got the whole movie in his head, and it's fascinating to watch and be a part of it.
Tell us about your character in the film, how that came about, what influence, if any, you had on the, you know, the development of that character before it was written or put on the screen.
Yeah, that was a conversation that Michael and I had. He just showed me Pain and Gain at Paramount, and he said, I want you to do this other thing. And I said, if you'll allow me to do the same thing, which is kind of bring my own take to the character. He said, absolutely, that's why I want you. So he kind of gave me a little brief synopsis of what the movie was going to be, and I committed before ever seeing the script.
That's a pretty big commitment, but I mean, obviously pretty confident of his name or of the experience that you'd had working
The
with him?
experience that I had with him,
Yep.
for sure.
Obviously, there's a lot of cast members in this film that are not robotic. Tell us about some of the times that you spent with these guys on set and these new stars that are sort of coming up that we're all going to eventually see as household names.
Yeah, well, Nicola Peltz, who plays my daughter.
Somebody went woo then.
She still is somebody's
a bit
daughter.
creepy. But I'm with you though. But I just wasn't prepared to do it.
And the shorts were getting shorter
Yeah.
by the second. I mean, we shot that sequence over the course of like 15 days. And I was like, oh my God, I know her dad very well. So I'm like, this is not good. He's not gonna like that. But the kids were great. Jack Rayner's great in the movie. Stanley Tucci and I had worked together on The Lovely Bones, but we didn't get to have too many fun moments on that movie. So it was nice being able to play opposite him and Stanley, as well as Kelsey Grammer. And it was a great cast, and everybody was there kind of to do the same thing. So.
Now, I have a question about some of the other characters on the set. Is it true that some of the Transformers in the film were intimidated by the size of your cannons?
No. They did ask me about the prosthetic penis in Boogie Nights, but I didn't want to engage in that kind of conversation.
Did you have to modify your workout regime? You're a fit guy, everyone knows it, but in some of that footage, your bicep was the size of a car. Did you deliberately pump them up? Is there a measurement that they have to take or you have to take before you're satisfied with your guns before you go out?
No, I told Michael, I said, you're spending all this money on effects, just make me look a little bigger and a little stronger. So that's just a little added CGI.
One of the things that I think most people would have noticed, particularly in the 3D trailer there, was the introduction of Dinobots. Tell us about how that came about and why it was introduced now.
Well, I think, he just wanted to, I think now he was able to pull it off as far as the technology. But it's not, usually when you see like something cool in a trailer, especially in a summer movie, like that's it, that's the good part of the movie. There's so much more to the story and how he kind of recruits the Dinobots.
Yep. It's
really cool. I mean, it's pretty elaborate how involved they are in the movie. And seeing Optimus Prime riding a Dinobot is pretty damn cool. And then I interact with them quite a bit myself. And I'm kind of on their side, so it's cool, because Stanley and those guys are still a little bit on the fence.
And the story seems to be, without being able to see the privilege of seeing the entire film, it seems to be kind of not a departure from Transformers per se, but of the storyline. It's not picking up where the last one left off. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think, Michael always wanted to do something different and do something new. That was the first thing he said to me. He said he didn't want it to have anything to do with the other three movies. So it's well after the Battle of Chicago. And basically, any of the Transformers, anybody finds a Transformers or anything, you can basically get a reward. But me being the aspiring inventor that I am, I feel like I can study them, learn from their technology, and then hopefully do something that will change my life and give my daughter a better life and be able to pay for her college.
Did you have toy Transformers as a kid? Or as an adult?
I stole a couple here and there.
Because, I remember when I was a kid, I very clearly I wanted Transformer toys, and I remember I got Starscream, which was an awesome one, and I got Optimus Prime, and I was like pretty thrilled, and then I got some crappy character I'd never seen that was like a Fiat 500, and I went, oh, who's this dude? Did you collect them as a kid?
No, I didn't. Usually we were getting hand-me-downs or
Right.
stealing the neighbor's toys. But you'd be damn straight that I'm going to Hasbro with my kids. Literally to the toy factory. It's close to my mother's house in Boston. It's in Rhode Island. And I already told the guys from Hasbro that I'm coming with a big truck. Well, so we're going to load it up.
I can tell you, Mark, I actually know a few people who work pretty closely with the toy company. I reckon we might be able to get you a couple for free.
Well, thank you.
Mark, I've got some questions.
You would think I'd be able to afford it after making a movie like this. But I actually, I did not get compensated for this movie. I did it for free.
Right, they could pay you in toys. Mark, I've got some questions from fans. These are people who are huge fans of Transformers, huge fans of yours, and they're legitimate questions. They've been heavily vetted because some of them were just fucking crazy. But this one's from Sarah Denny. If you could transform into a car, what would it be and what would you call yourself?
Huh.
It sounds like a question from a 7-year-old. She's 48.
Maybe the new Mercedes Gullwing is pretty damn cool.
It's a good one. I would have said a muscle car.
What would I call myself? You know what? I fell in love because we were shooting in Detroit and we were at the GM plant. They have all these old cars, and I was like dying to buy a muscle car. But then I was thinking, you know, you're driving around in LA on the 405, and all of a sudden your water pump goes, or you know, carburetor goes, and you broke down on the side of the highway. They don't ride as nice as the newer cars. But what would I call myself? I don't know. Probably, I don't know, jackass. And if you never know, I always have Dirk to go to, so I could just call myself Dirk Diggler. There's always Dirk. Once you're Dirk,
call yourself anything
it's
you like,
all gravy.
mate. No one is going to argue with you. I'll tell you that right now. This is a question from Adam. How long are you in Sydney for, and what are you planning on seeing while you're here?
I'm only here until Friday, so I'm probably going to just see the inside of a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of journalists.
I think Adam was going to ask you out for dinner, but that's...
But somebody said Russell Crowe and Ridley Scott are having dinner, so I may have some alcoholic beverages tonight with those guys. We'll see.
I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be great. This is a question...
We didn't say you were invited, but... no, absolutely. Sure, of course.
This is awkward. This is from Jessica Pereira, and she says, if you could work with one actor, alive or deceased, who would it be and why?
I'd have to say Jimmy Cagney.
Wow, that's going back a while, isn't it? Why?
He reminds me of my dad. And, you know, I grew up watching actors like that with my dad. Steve McQueen, Jimmy Cagney, John Garfield, Robert Ryan. Most people don't know who the fuck that is.
It doesn't matter. All the young people are going...
Check them out. Check them out. Pretty cool.
Finally, Mark, what can you tell Transformers fans about Age of Extinction that they may not already know from looking online or they're yet to discover?
Well, you know what's great is you see the footage now, so now you've all gotten a little taste of what it is. It's bigger and better than the other movies, and you know, I'm just lucky to have been a part of it and to be asked by Michael to be a part of it.
It's great. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Mark Wahlberg.
Thank you, guys.
You shouldn't have come after my family.